Alphonsus Liguori was born near the city of Naples on 27 September 1696. At an early age he began to study law at the University of Naples and received his doctorate at the age of 16. By age 19 he was working as a lawyer who was known to never lose a case, but upon losing an important case he left law to follow a call to be a priest. He was ordained a priest at the age of 30, and he was known for his excellent preaching. He began ministering to the poor in the interior of the countryside when he heard the voice from God and founded the Congregation of the Most Holy Redeemer, Redemptorists, in 1732 to preach missions to the poor in the urban and rural areas. He was known to fight against the heresy of Jansenism, which preached moral rigorism. In 1762 he was named the Bishop of Sant'Agata dei Goti, where he reformed the laxity of the clergy as well as caring for the poor. He wrote over 110 works in spirituality and theology. He died on 1 August 1787 and was canonized in 1839 and named Doctor of the Church in 1871. He is the patron saint of confessors and moral theologians.
The entire Church cannot give God as much honor, nor obtain so many graces, as a single priest, celebrating a single Mass for the greatest honor that the whole Church, without priests, could give God, would consist in offering to Him, in sacrifice, the lives of all men. But of what value are the lives of all men, compared with the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, which is a sacrifice of infinite value? Duties and Dignity of the Priest, Chapter 1, Part 2. In the natural order, we are the work of His hands. But in the supernatural order, we are made sons of God, and partakers of the divine nature, through the merits of Jesus Christ. As the Apostle St. Peter writes, that by these you may be made partakers of the divine nature. And if charity makes us the sons of God, it consequently makes us heirs of heaven, according to St. Paul. And if sons, heirs also. Practice of the love of Jesus Christ, Chapter 12. Let us not lament, if we suffer from some natural defect of body or mind, from poor memory, slowness of understanding, little ability, lameness, or general bad health. What claim have we, or what obligation is God under, to give us a more brilliant mind, or a more robust body? Who is ever offered a gift, and then lays down the conditions upon which He will accept it? Let us thank God for what, in His pure goodness, He has given us, and let us be content too with the manner, in which He has given it to us. Who knows? Perhaps, if God had given us greater talent, better health, a more personable appearance, we might have lost our souls. Great talent and knowledge have caused many to be puffed up with the idea of their own importance, and in their pride, they have despised others. How easily those who have these gifts fall into grave danger to their salvation. How many, on account of physical beauty or robust health, have plunged headlong into a life of debauchery? How many, on the contrary, who by reason of poverty, infirmity, or physical deformity, have become saints, and have saved their souls? Who, given health, wealth, or physical attractiveness had else lost their souls? Let us then be content with what God has given us. But one thing is necessary, and it is not beauty, not health, not talent. It is the salvation of our immortal souls. Uniformity with God's will, Chapter 5. Jesus Christ could easily have obtained for us salvation without suffering, and in leading a life of ease and delight. He refused the riches, the delights, the honors of the world, and chose for Himself a life of poverty and death, full of suffering and ignominy. Would it not have sufficed for Him to have offered to His eternal Father one single prayer for the pardon of man? For this prayer, being of infinite value, would have been sufficient to save the world, and infinite worlds besides. Why then did He choose for Himself so much suffering, and a death so cruel? St. John Chrysostom answers, a single prayer of Jesus would have indeed been sufficient to redeem us. But it was not sufficient to show us the love that our God has borne for us. That which sufficed to redeem us was not sufficient for love. The Passion and Death of Jesus Christ, Chapter 2.3. Unite then your sufferings to those of our Lord. But, you say, I do not want to be sick, for then I am useless, a burden to my order, to my monastery. But if you are united to, and resigned to God's will, you will realize that your superiors are likewise resigned to the dispositions of divine providence, and that they recognize the fact that you are a burden, not through indolence, but by the will of God. How often these desires and these laments are born, not of the love of God, but of the love of self. How many of them are so many pretexts for fleeing the will of God? Do we want to please God? When we find ourselves confined to our sickbed, let us utter this one prayer, "Thy will be done." Let us repeat it, time and time again, and it will please God more than all our mortifications and devotions. There is no better way to serve God than cheerfully to embrace His holy will. Uniformity with God's will, Chapter 4. Now, what madness would it be of anyone who, to obtain one day of pleasure, should condemn himself to be shut up in a pit, some 20 or 30 years? If hell were to last 100 years, why do I say 100? If it should last no more than 2 or 3 years, still it would be great madness for a moment of vile pleasure, to condemn oneself to 2 or 3 years of burning. But it does not treat of 30, of 100, of 1,000, or of 1,000,000, but of eternity. It is a question of suffering forever, the same torments, which will never end, never be lightened even for a moment. Preparation for Death, Chapter 27.1.